The courtroom smelled of old wood and broken promises. I sat at the plaintiff's table, back straight despite my 65 years, hands folded over the worn leather purse in my lap. The fluorescent lights above cast everything in that harsh, unforgiving glow that makes everyone look guilty of something. My navy suit, the one Daniel had given me for my 60th birthday, felt too tight across the shoulders, but I wouldn't have worn anything else. Not today. Across the aisle, Victoria sat with her attorney, Gerald Blackwood from Mitchell & Blackwell. She'd chosen her costume carefully. Black Armani suit, hair pulled back in a sleek bun, minimal makeup that somehow made her look both grieving and glamorous. Designer sunglasses rested on the table in front of her, though we were indoors. Props, I thought. Everything with Victoria was performance. Behind her, Graham Lancaster leaned against the gallery railing, arms crossed, expensive watch catching the light. He had the confident slouch of a man who'd never faced real consequences. His eyes met mine for half a second before sliding away. Good. Let him look away. Let him wonder what I knew. My grandson Owen sat 3 rows back with the court-appointed guardian, 8 years old and trying so hard to be brave. He wouldn't look at me. Couldn't, probably. Too confused by all of this. Why Grandma and Mommy were in court. Why strangers kept asking him questions about feelings he didn't have words for yet. I touched the locket around my neck, the one with Daniel's picture inside, taken when he was Owen's age, all gap-toothed smile and mischief. My fingers found the small vial of ash I'd sewn into the lining of my purse. Just a pinch of my son's remains, the ones Victoria hadn't gotten to before I insisted on keeping some. She'd been so eager to cremate him, so eager to erase the evidence. Judge Patricia Sullivan entered, and we all stood. She was a black woman about my age, silver hair cropped close, reading glasses on a chain around her neck. I'd researched her. 30 years on the bench, known for being fair but hard. No patience for games. Case number 2024-CV-8847, the bailiff announced. Thornton versus Thornton, matter of estate and custody. Victoria's perfectly manicured hand trembled slightly as she adjusted her legal pad. Just a flutter, but I saw it. 30 years teaching psychology at the University of Chicago had taught me to see what people tried to hide. Victoria was scared. She should be. Counsel, are we ready to proceed? Judge Sullivan's voice filled the room. Yes, Your Honor, Robert Hayes said beside me. My son's best friend since Harvard Law, the only person Daniel had trusted with the truth. Ready, Your Honor, Blackwood replied, his voice smooth as aged whiskey. I wasn't afraid anymore, because I had something they didn't expect. My son's final gift, hidden for exactly this moment. Let me tell you who I am, because that matters for what comes next. My name is Margaret Louise Thornton, but everyone calls me Maggie. I'm 65 years old, born and raised on the south side of Chicago, daughter of a postal worker and a nurse. I put myself through Northwestern on scholarships and stubbornness, became the first in my family to get a Ph.D., spent 30 years teaching psychology at the University of Chicago, specializing in behavioral patterns and human motivation. I carry a brown leather notebook everywhere I've been carrying it since my first year of graduate school. My professor told me, "Life is patterns, Miss Lewis. Once you see them, you can't unsee them." That notebook has seen me through 3 decades of lectures, research papers, and grant applications. These last 8 months, it's been filled with different kinds of observations, the kind that break your heart even as they prove you right. I've been a widow for 10 years. My Henry died of lung cancer when Daniel was 25. Never smoked a day in his life, just bad luck and worse genetics. We'd been married 35 years. He was a high school math teacher, the kind students remembered decades later. When he died, Daniel took a week off from his law practice and stayed with me in our little house in Oak Park, cooking meals I couldn't eat, sitting with me in silence when words failed. That house is still mine, the one Henry and I bought in 1985 with the garden he planted and I've kept alive. Daniel used to bring Owen there every Saturday morning to help me tend the roses. Grandma's roses, Owen called them, though they were really his grandfather's legacy. I have one defining characteristic that you need to understand. I see patterns. It's not magic or intuition, it's training. You watch people long enough, you learn to read the small, unguarded moments. The micro-expressions that flash across a face before the mask comes back up. The body language that contradicts the words. The inconsistencies that pile up until they spell out a truth someone doesn't want you to know. With Victoria, those moments had been adding up for months. Daniel Henry Thornton was my miracle baby. I'd had 3 miscarriages before him, each one a small death that left Henry and me more afraid to hope. When I finally carried Daniel to term, when I heard his first cry in that delivery room, I wept so hard the nurses thought something was wrong. Nothing was wrong. For the first time in years, everything was right. I loved that boy with a fierceness that surprised even me. Not the smothering kind of love. I'd seen what that did to children, studied it in my research. I loved him by teaching him to think critically, to question everything, to see people clearly. Henry and I raised him to be kind but not naive, generous but not foolish, strong enough to help others, smart enough to protect himself. He became exactly the man we'd hoped. Brilliant attorney, specializing in family law, the kind of lawyer who took pro bono cases for people who couldn't afford justice otherwise. He married Victoria when he was 25, fresh out of Harvard Law, too young to see what I saw, but too in love to listen even if I'd warned him. I didn't warn him. That's something I'll regret until my last breath. We had our traditions, Daniel and I. Every Saturday morning he'd pick me up for the farmer's market in Oak Park. We'd buy fresh flowers, always roses for the garden, and walk through the stalls, talking about cases he couldn't tell me details about, but could discuss in theory. "Mom, what would make someone stay in a relationship they know is destructive?" he'd ask. And I'd explain attachment theory, sunk cost fallacy, the comfort of familiar patterns, even when they hurt. I didn't know he was asking about his own marriage. Every Sunday night at 9 o'clock, Daniel called. Didn't matter if he was in the middle of a trial, working late, traveling for depositions. 9 o'clock, my phone would ring. "Hey, Mom, just checking in." We'd talk for 10 minutes, sometimes an hour. Henry used to joke that our son was the only 35-year-old man in America who called his mother every single Sunday without fail. The last call came 3 days before he died. "Mom," he said, and something in his voice made me put down the book I was reading. "If anything happens to me, remember, I've always protected you and Owen. Always." "Daniel, what are you talking about? What's going to happen?" "Nothing, probably. I'm just taking precautions, being careful." "Careful about what?" "Can't talk about it yet. But Mom, that set of keys I gave you 6 months ago to the house, keep them somewhere safe. And if Victoria ever tells you I didn't leave you anything in my will, don't believe her." My heart had started pounding. "Daniel Anthony Thornton, you're scaring me." "Don't be scared, just be ready. I love you, Mom." "I love you too, baby." That was the last time I heard my son's voice. Looking back now, I can see all the signs I missed, or maybe didn't want to see. 6 months before that final call, Daniel had shown up at my house on a Wednesday afternoon. No Saturday market trip, no Sunday phone call, just an unexpected visit. He'd handed me a key ring with 3 keys. House, Mercedes, Range Rover. "Just in case, Mom. You should have access." "Access to what?" "Daniel, what's going on?" "Nothing. Just peace of mind. Put them somewhere safe, okay?" 4 months before he died, we'd been having lunch at our favorite diner on Madison Street when he asked, "Mom, in Illinois, if a parent remarries, does that affect the custody rights if something happens to them?" I'd studied him over my coffee cup. "Are you and Victoria having problems?" No, just a hypothetical. Client case I'm working on." But his eyes hadn't met mine when he said it. 2 months before the end, I'd noticed Daniel had changed the password on his home safe. I only knew because I'd been watching Owen one evening when Daniel came home early, and he'd opened it to get some documents. The electronic keypad beeped a familiar sequence. "Is that my birthday?" I'd asked. He'd looked startled, then smiled. "Yeah, easier to remember than our anniversary." Our anniversary, not my anniversary with Victoria. Our, meaning his and mine, the day he was born. These weren't random details. They were a pattern. I just couldn't see the full picture until it was too late. Tuesday, February 14th, 2023, 2:17 in the morning. My phone rang, that harsh, invasive sound that means something terrible has happened. Nobody calls at 2:17 a.m. with good news. "Is this Margaret Thornton?" "Yes." My voice came out as a whisper. "This is Northwestern Memorial Hospital. Your son, Daniel Thornton, has been admitted with a suspected brain aneurysm. You should come immediately." The world tilted. I remember getting dressed, but I don't remember choosing clothes. I remember driving, but not the route. 40 miles from Oak Park to downtown Chicago in the middle of the night, still wearing my nightgown under my coat, hair uncombed, hands shaking on the wheel. I called Victoria 7 times during that drive. 7 times, straight to voicemail. When I arrived at the hospital at 3:12 a.m., the nurse at the ICU desk looked at me with the kind of pity that told me everything before she said a word. "Mrs. Thornton, I'm so sorry. We've been trying to reach the next of kin for 40 minutes. I'm his mother. Where is he? The doctor will speak with you. If you'll just wait in this room." "Where is my son?" She took my hand. "I'm so sorry, Mrs. Thornton. He's gone. The aneurysm was massive. He never regained consciousness." I sat with Daniel's body alone for 35 minutes, held his hand, still warm, stroked his hair, told him I was sorry I hadn't protected him better, hadn't seen what was coming, hadn't stopped it. At 3:47 a.m., my phone buzzed. A text message. Not to me individually, to our family group chat. The one Daniel had set up a year ago. Thornton family with me, him, Victoria, and Owen. But this message clearly wasn't meant for the group. "It's done. He's gone. Cremation tomorrow before anyone asks questions. Meet me at home in 20. Sender. Victoria." My hands went numb. I stared at those words, read them 5 times, 7 times, 10 times, trying to make them mean something other than what they obviously meant. "It's done. He's gone. Before anyone asks questions." I took a screenshot, then another. Then I forwarded it to my email just to be sure. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely type. Victoria arrived at the hospital at 11:45 a.m., 9.5 hours after the initial call. She wore Chanel sunglasses despite being indoors. Her makeup was perfect, fresh, the kind that takes time to apply. Her manicure was new, gel polish without a single chip. I noticed because that's what I do. I notice. "Maggie," she said, her voice catching just slightly. "I can't believe this. I can't believe Daniel's gone. Where were you?" My voice sounded strange to my own ears. Flat. Dead. "I was asleep. I take sleeping pills, you know that. I didn't hear my phone." I checked my phone later. Google Maps showed no traffic delays between their house in Lincoln Park and Northwestern Memorial at 2:17 a.m. The drive should have taken 23 minutes. Even if she'd woken up at 3 a.m. when I stopped calling, she should have arrived by 3:30. She didn't come for over 8 hours. But she'd sent that text at 3:47 a.m., which meant she was awake, which meant she knew. The funeral was Thursday, February 16th. Victoria chose cremation. Daniel had told me once, during one of our Sunday night calls, that he wanted to be buried next to his father in Oak Park Cemetery. "When my time comes, Mom, I want to be next to Dad. You can be on his other side. The 3 of us together." I told Victoria this. She smiled sadly and said, "Daniel told me he wanted cremation. He didn't want to burden you with maintaining a grave." I didn't argue. I was still in shock, still processing that text message, still trying to understand what was happening. At the funeral, Graham Lancaster showed up. Victoria introduced him to people as Daniel's business partner. They stood close, not touching, but close enough that I noticed. Close enough that I photographed it mentally. 3 times during the 45-minute service, Victoria's hand brushed against Graham's arm. Just light touches. Casual. The kind of touches you make without thinking when you're comfortable with someone. After everyone left, I sat in my car in the funeral home parking lot and looked at Victoria's phone records. Daniel had put me on his family cell phone plan years ago as an authorized user, a detail Victoria had probably forgotten. The account showed every number called or texted from her phone. 47 calls to Graham Lancaster in the month before Daniel died. 47. I went through Daniel's calendar next. He kept everything on Google Calendar, shared with me so I'd know when he was free for our Saturday morning trips. The last 3 months of his life showed a pattern. 18 out of 20 weekends marked working late, Owen staying with Mom. 18 weekends where my grandson slept at my house while his mother did God knows what. 2 weeks before Daniel died, he'd transferred $15,000 into my checking account. The memo line read, "For Owen's future, trust your instincts." I sat there in that parking lot, looking at the pieces of a puzzle I didn't want to solve. The transferred money, the changed will I didn't know about yet, the keys he'd given me, that last phone call. "I've always protected you and Owen." And that text message, the one she'd sent by accident. It's done. He's gone. Cremation tomorrow before anyone asks questions. My son had suspected something, had tried to protect us, and now he was ashes in an urn, and I couldn't prove anything except that his wife was a liar and his business partner was sleeping in his bed 3 weeks after the funeral. Owen told me that part. 8 years old, confused, trying to make sense of why Uncle Graham was having breakfast at their house every morning. Grandma, Mom says Uncle Graham is helping us, but I don't like him. He talks to me like I'm a baby, and he says Dad was boring. That's when I knew I had to fight. I tried to resolve this privately. I really did. Week 1 after the funeral, Victoria invited me to the house on Ashland Avenue, the beautiful 4-bedroom colonial Daniel had bought 5 years ago. His house. His name on the deed. I knew because I'd helped him with the paperwork when he purchased it, before he married Victoria. Maggie, we need to talk about Daniel's estate, Victoria said over coffee in the kitchen. Her kitchen now, apparently. Everything goes to me. The house, both cars, his savings, the investment accounts. It's all in the will. What about Owen's college fund? I asked. She waved a hand dismissively. I'm his mother. I'll handle his education. Daniel set up a trust, a specific trust for Owen's education. Did he? She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Well, things change. I'll make sure Owen's taken care of. Week 3, Owen stayed with me 5 out of 7 nights. Victoria called it needing space to process my grief. Owen called it Mom's busy with Uncle Graham. Week 6, Victoria dropped the real bomb. I'm moving to Scottsdale. Graham has a development opportunity there, a luxury resort project. It's the chance of a lifetime. My coffee cup froze halfway to my mouth. Scottsdale? Arizona? Fresh start for all of us. Owen needs to get away from all these memories of Daniel. Owen needs his school, his friends, his therapist, his grandmother. You can visit during holidays, Maggie. We'll fly you out. Phoenix is beautiful in the winter. You're taking my grandson away from everything he knows 2 months after his father died to move in with your boyfriend? Her mask slipped. Just for a second, but I saw it. Cold calculation replaced grieving widow. Graham is not my boyfriend. He's a family friend helping us through a difficult time. Is that what you call someone you've been sleeping with while my son was alive? She stood up. I think you should leave, Maggie. Not without talking about Owen. Owen is my son, mine, not yours, and I decide what's best for him. Week 8, I walked into Robert Hayes' office on Michigan Avenue. Robert had been Daniel's roommate at Harvard, best man at his wedding, godfather to Owen. He was also one of the best estate attorneys in Chicago. When I called him, he'd said, Maggie, I was wondering when you'd come. I've been waiting. Waiting for what? To show you what Daniel left for you. He spread documents across his massive oak desk. I recognized Daniel's signature, but nothing else made sense. There are 2 wills, Maggie. The one Victoria knows about, dated 2018, leaves everything to her. Standard spousal will. And the other? Updated 3 months ago, November 3rd, 2022. 3 months before he died, right after he'd given me those keys. Robert walked me through it. The house at 1742 Ashland Avenue, valued at $650,000, transferred to me. Daniel's Mercedes S-Class and Range Rover, transferred to me. His personal bank account at First National, $890,000, transferred to me. Owen's Educational Trust, $500,000, with me as trustee. Victoria received the lake house in Wisconsin, $450,000, and Daniel's life insurance policy, $500,000, nearly $1 million. More than most people see in a lifetime. But not the house, not the cars, not access to Owen's money, not control. Why? I whispered. Robert pulled out a sealed letter. He left this for you. Said to give it to you only if Victoria contested the will. I opened it with shaking hands. Mom, if you're reading this, the worst has happened. I'm gone, and Victoria is fighting you. I discovered 6 months ago that she's been having an affair with Graham Lancaster. Not just an affair. They've been planning their future together. Planning to wait until the money situation is better before leaving me. I hired a private investigator. I have evidence. Texts, photos, recordings. Robert has all of it. But here's what really scares me, Mom. 2 months ago, I told Victoria I knew about Graham and wanted a divorce. She got very calm. Too calm. Started asking about my life insurance, my health, whether I had any medical conditions. 3 weeks ago, I started having symptoms: headaches, dizziness, blurred vision. My doctor found nothing wrong. The symptoms disappeared when I was away on business trips. Came back when I was home. I don't know if I'm being paranoid. I don't know if Victoria would actually hurt me. But I'm a lawyer, Mom. I deal in evidence and probability. And the probability that she loves me has dropped to 0. So I've moved assets to your name. Not because I don't trust you, because I trust you more than anyone. The house, the cars, the money, they're not really for you. They're tools to protect Owen. Victoria will fight this. She'll try to manipulate you, threaten you, paint you as a bitter old woman trying to steal what's rightfully hers. Don't let her. Protect Owen. That's all that matters. I love you, Mom. I'm sorry I put you in this position, but there's no one else I trust. Daniel, I read it 3 times before I could speak. Robert, did he think Victoria was poisoning him? Robert's face was grim. I don't know. But 3 days after he gave me this letter, he died of a sudden brain aneurysm. Victoria insisted on immediate cremation. No autopsy, no toxicology screening. Can aneurysms be induced? Certain toxins can cause vascular events that mimic natural aneurysms, but without an autopsy, there's no proof. No, but there's enough suspicion to make sure Owen isn't left alone with her. That's when I made my decision. File the petition, Robert, for the will and for custody. Custody? Maggie, you're asking for a lot. Judges don't like taking children from their mothers. I'm asking to protect my grandson from a woman who might have murdered his father. Robert nodded slowly. Okay, but you need to be prepared. This is going to get ugly. I touched the locket around my neck. My son prepared me. Now let's finish what he started. Robert Hayes's office occupied the 42nd floor of a glass tower on Michigan Avenue, with views of Lake Michigan that Daniel used to say were wasted on lawyers too busy to look out the window. I sat across from Robert's mahogany desk, my brown leather notebook open on my lap, pen ready. Maggie, I need you to understand what we're up against, Robert said, leaning forward with his fingers steepled. Gerald Blackwood doesn't lose probate cases. He's won 47 estate contests in the last 5 years. 47 out of 48. What happened to number 48? Settled out of court when his client realized they were going to prison for forgery. Robert's expression was grim. Blackwood's strategy is predictable but effective. Attack the credibility of anyone challenging his client's claim. He'll paint you as a bitter, grieving mother who can't accept her son's choices. Let him try. I kept my voice steady, but my hands tightened on the notebook. Robert pulled out a thick folder. Daniel gave me this 3 months before he died. Let me show you what we're working with. He spread documents across the desk like a hand of cards. First, my journal. 8 weeks of meticulous documentation. February 16th to April 15th. 2023, Victoria kept Owen overnight at my house. 34 out of 56 nights. 67%. Victoria canceled Owen's therapy appointments. 12 out of 15 scheduled sessions. Victoria forgot Owen's asthma medication. 4 times, once resulting in near hospitalization. Victoria missed parent-teacher conferences. 4 out of 4, Owen reported Uncle Graham sleeping over. 7 times in 8 weeks, I'd documented everything with dates, times, witnesses, every forgotten permission slip, every broken promise. Every time Owen had asked, Grandma, why doesn't Mom want to be with me? Patterns. I saw patterns. Next, Robert showed me the security camera footage. I'd installed cameras at my house after that first week, when Owen started staying over regularly. The footage showed Victoria dropping Owen off at my door, sometimes barely putting the car in park. February 23rd, 7:15 p.m., Robert narrated, pulling up a video. Victoria drops Owen with an overnight bag, tells you she has a grief support group. Watch the timestamp. The video jumped forward. 9:47 p.m. same day. Victoria's car pulls into Daniel's driveway. Graham Lancaster gets out of the passenger seat. They enter the house together. My stomach turned. 2 hours after dropping her son at my house for grief support. Gets worse. Robert clicked to another video. March 15th. This is from Owen's school security system, publicly accessible. Victoria drops Owen at 8 a.m., tells the teacher she'll pick him up. Watch what happens at 3:30 p.m. The video showed Owen sitting on the school steps with his backpack, waiting. Teachers came and went. Other children were picked up. Owen waited. At 4:45 p.m., over an hour after dismissal, a teacher finally called someone. "Who did they call?" I asked, though I already knew. "You. School records show you as the emergency contact. You picked him up at 5:12 p.m. Victoria never called to say she couldn't make it. Owen sat there for an hour and 45 minutes. My voice shook with anger I'd been holding back for weeks. Robert's expression was compassionate, but firm. "This is the pattern we're going to show the judge. Not one incident, a consistent pattern of neglect." He pulled out another folder. "Financial records. Daniel gave me access to the joint checking account before he died. Look at Victoria's spending in the 2 months after his death." The spreadsheet made my throat tight. $4,200. Hermes Birkin bag, March 3rd. $3,800. Weekend at the Peninsula, Chicago, March 10th to 12th. $2,100. Spa day at the Four Seasons, March 18th. $1,900. Dinner at Alinea, March 25th. $6,400. First class tickets to Miami, April 2nd to 5th. Total discretionary spending, $23,400. Meanwhile, Owen's school uniform had been torn for 3 weeks before I bought him new ones. His asthma prescription hadn't been refilled until I took him to the pharmacy myself. "She's spending Daniel's money like water," I said quietly, while telling the court she needs the estate to properly care for her son. Robert closed the folder. "But Maggie, there's something else. Something Daniel discovered that changes everything." He pulled out a flash drive. "Daniel hired a private investigator 6 months ago. The investigator accessed Victoria's phone records legally. She'd used Daniel's business cell phone account, which meant he had authorization to review the data as the account holder." Robert plugged the drive into his computer. "These are text messages between Victoria and Graham, dated over 18 months, November 2021 through February 2023. The first message appeared on screen. November 18th, 2021, Victoria to Graham. "Can't do this anymore, pretending I love him when I love you. But we need to be smart about timing." Graham to Victoria. "Patience, baby. He's a lawyer. If you file for divorce now, he'll destroy us in court. Wait until the financial situation is better." Victoria to Graham. "How long? I'm dying here." Graham. "Lake Geneva house closes next month. Once his name is on that deed, we move. Trust me." I felt sick. They were planning to wait until Daniel's assets increased before she divorced him. "Keep reading," Robert said grimly. January 15th, 2022. Victoria to Graham. "He's talking about updating his will. Something about making sure Owen is protected if anything happens. Should I be worried?" Graham. "What's he changing?" Victoria. "Won't tell me. Says it's precautionary. He's been weird lately. Distant." Graham. "Does he know about us?" Victoria. "How could he? We've been so careful." But Daniel had known. By January 2022, he'd known enough to start changing his will. The messages got darker. October 8th, 2022, Victoria to Graham. "He confronted me, said he knows about us, wants a divorce." Graham. "Shit, what did you say?" Victoria. "Denied everything, but he didn't believe me. He's meeting with lawyers." Graham. "This is bad. Really bad. My business deals depend on his legal connections. If he divorces you and exposes the affair..." Victoria. "Let me handle it. I'll make him think I want to work on the marriage." November 1st, 2022. Victoria to Graham. "He changed the will. I saw the lawyer's number on his phone, Robert Hayes. Daniel wouldn't tell me what he changed, but I know it's bad for us." Graham. "Find out what's in it." Victoria. "How? He won't tell me anything anymore." Graham. "Then we need to move up our timeline." Victoria. "What does that mean?" Graham. "It means accidents happen, Vic, even to healthy lawyers." I stopped breathing. Robert, is he saying, "Keep reading"? November 15th, 2022. Victoria to Graham. "Don't joke about that. I'm not a murderer." Graham. "Who's joking? Workaholic attorney, high stress, family history of heart disease. His dad died of cancer. But what if there were other factors?" Victoria. "Stop." Graham. "I'm just saying, if something natural happened, you'd inherit everything under the old will. The new one wouldn't be executed yet." There was a weak gap in messages. Then, November 23, 2022, Victoria to Graham. I've been reading about brain aneurysms. They can happen to anyone. No warning. Graham. Why are you researching that? Victoria. Just curious. Did you know certain substances can cause vascular events that look completely natural? Graham. Victoria. I'm just reading, Graham. Educating myself. December 10th, 2022, Victoria to Graham. Daniel's been complaining about headaches, dizziness, says his vision gets blurry sometimes. Graham. Is he seeing a doctor? Victoria. Doctor found nothing wrong. Said it's probably stress from work. Graham. Interesting. Victoria. The symptoms go away when he travels for work. Come back when he's home. Graham. Very interesting. My hands were shaking so badly I had to put down my pen. Daniel told me about those symptoms in his letter. He thought he was being paranoid. He wasn't, Robert said quietly. The final messages were from February 2023. February 12, 2023, Victoria to Graham. He's having severe headaches tonight, worse than before. I told him to go to bed early. Graham. And you? Victoria. I'm sleeping in the guest room. Don't want to disturb him. February 13th, 2023, 11:43 p.m. Victoria to Graham. He's asleep. I checked on him an hour ago. Everything's fine. February 14th, 2023, 2:42 a.m. Victoria to Graham. It's happening. Ambulance is coming. He's unconscious. Graham. Are you okay? Victoria. I'm fine. It's like we talked about. Looks completely natural. Graham. Don't text me anymore tonight. Too risky. Victoria. Okay, love you. February 14th, 2023, 3:47 a.m. Victoria to Graham. It's done. He's gone. Cremation tomorrow before anyone asks questions. Meet me at home in 20. She sent that last one to the family group chat by mistake, I whispered. I saw it. I have a screenshot. I know. Daniel made sure I had everything. Robert closed the laptop. Maggie, I can't prove Victoria killed Daniel. The medical examiner ruled it natural causes, a spontaneous brain aneurysm. With cremation completed within 48 hours and no autopsy, there's no physical evidence. But these messages show conspiracy and intent at minimum, possibly conspiracy to commit murder. At best, they demonstrate that Victoria and Graham were hoping for Daniel's death and planning to benefit from it. That's enough to take Owen away from her. Maybe. Judges are very hesitant to remove children from biological mothers. But combined with the evidence of neglect, the financial exploitation, and Daniel's explicit wishes in his will, Robert met my eyes. We have a real shot. What do we need? More documentation. And one more thing. He pulled out a small video camera. Daniel recorded something in this office 2 weeks before he died. It's his video testimony, witnessed by my partners, legally authenticated, admissible in court. Have you watched it? Yes. It's devastating, Maggie. But you should watch it before the trial. You need to be prepared. I nodded. Show me. Robert set up the video on his laptop. Daniel appeared on screen, sitting in the same chair I occupied now. He looked tired, older than his 35 years, but his voice was steady. My name is Daniel Henry Thornton. Today is February 1st, 2023. I'm making this statement of sound mind and body. I listened to my son explain his marriage's collapse, his discovery of the affair, his growing fear that Victoria might hurt him. His voice cracked when he talked about Owen. My son deserves better than a mother who sees him as an obstacle to her new life. I'm leaving my assets to my mother because I trust her completely, because she'll put Owen first, because she's the only person who's never failed me. When the video ended, I was crying silently. Robert handed me a tissue. He knew, I said. He knew what was coming, and he tried to protect us. Yes, and now we finish what he started. That night, Victoria called me at 11:47. I was already in bed, but nowhere near sleep, my mind churning through everything Robert had shown me. Maggie, we need to talk, privately, without lawyers. It's almost midnight, Victoria. Please, this doesn't have to be a war. We can settle this quietly. Against Robert's advice, I agreed to meet her the next day at a coffee shop in Lincoln Park. Neutral territory, public enough to feel safe. She arrived 20 minutes late, designer sunglasses even though we were indoors, carrying a Hermes bag that probably cost more than my mortgage payment. Thank you for coming, she said, sliding into the booth across from me. I know this has been hard on both of us. I said nothing, just watched her, waiting for the performance. Maggie, I want to make you an offer. A fair offer that lets us both move forward. She pulled out a document. You keep the house on Ashland. I know you've been staying there with Owen, and I won't fight you on that. How generous, I said flatly, giving me what Daniel already left me. A flicker of annoyance crossed her face. I keep the financial assets, the investment accounts, the remainder of Daniel's estate. But I guarantee you can see Owen regularly, every other weekend. Major holidays. I'll put it in writing. Every other weekend. I let the words hang there. You're offering me visitation rights to my own grandson. You're not his parent, Maggie. I am. You're barely his mother. You've kept him with me more than 60% of the time since Daniel died. Because I needed support. Because I was grieving. Her voice rose slightly. Then she caught herself. Lowered it. I'm trying to be reasonable here. No, you're trying to keep control of Owen's trust fund. That money is for Owen's care. As his mother, I should manage it. As his mother, you should have remembered to pick him up from school. As his mother, you shouldn't have spent $23,000 on designer bags and luxury hotels while his school uniform was falling apart. Victoria's mask slipped completely. I deserve to be happy, Maggie. I wasted 10 years with Daniel, playing the devoted wife when he was boring, predictable, more interested in his work and his mother than in me. Graham treats me like a queen. We have plans, real plans for a future that doesn't involve changing diapers and attending PTA meetings. Owen is 8 years old. He hasn't worn diapers in 5 years. You know what I mean. I'm 32. I have a whole life ahead of me. Graham has opportunities in Arizona, in California, in the Caymans. We could build something amazing together. Then go, I said quietly. Go build your amazing life. Let Owen stay with me. He's my son. Then act like his mother. Victoria leaned forward, eyes hard. You put me on that witness stand, Maggie, and I'll tell them everything. How you manipulated Daniel against me from day one. How you never approved of our marriage. How you're trying to steal my son because you can't accept that Daniel chose me, not you. Daniel didn't choose you. He saw through you. That's why he changed his will. A will he made when he wasn't thinking clearly. When he was stressed, paranoid, probably mentally unstable. Mentally unstable? He was a brilliant attorney. Who died of a brain aneurysm? Who knows how long that was affecting his judgment? She stood up, gathering her purse. Last chance, Maggie. Take the deal. Keep the house, see Owen on weekends, and we'll avoid destroying each other in court. Or what? Or I'll make sure the judge sees you as exactly what you are, a bitter old woman trying to replace her dead son with his child. I stood too, looking her directly in the eyes. Victoria, I taught psychology for 30 years. You know what I learned? Liars threaten. Truth-tellers just wait. She walked out without another word. I sat back down, pulled out my phone, and called Robert. She tried to intimidate me into settling. Good, Robert said. That means she's scared. Scared people make mistakes. What did you tell her? No deal. See you in court. That's my girl. Oh, and Maggie, one more thing. I've subpoenaed Graham Lancaster. He'll have to testify. Will he lie? Probably, but I have those text messages. Let him lie under oath. Perjury charges are criminal. The week before the trial, I couldn't sleep. I'd lie in bed in Owen's room, the one Daniel had slept in as a child, still decorated with the same blue wallpaper, and listen to my grandson breathe in the next room. He was staying with me full-time now, pending the hearing. Victoria had agreed to temporary custody transfer to avoid traumatizing Owen with multiple transitions. But I knew the real reason. She was preparing for the move to Arizona with Graham and didn't want to deal with childcare during trial prep. 3 nights before the hearing, I woke at 2 a.m. to find Owen standing in my doorway. Grandma? I can't sleep. Come here, baby. I pulled back the covers and he climbed in beside me, his small body warm and solid against my side. Are you and Mom fighting about me? Oh, God. How do you explain this to an 8-year-old? We're fighting about what's best for you. That's different. Mom says you're trying to take me away from her. I'm trying to make sure you're safe and loved and happy. Sometimes that means grown-ups have to make hard decisions. I heard Mom on the phone. She was crying. She said you're trying to steal Dad's money. I took a slow breath. Owen, your daddy left you money for college. Nobody's stealing it. I'm just making sure it's there when you need it. I miss him. His voice was so small. I know, sweetheart. I miss him too. Every single day. Do you think he knows? About the court and everything? I pulled him closer. I think your daddy knows that people who loved him are trying to protect you. That's all that matters to him. Grandma? What if the judge says I have to go with Mom to Arizona? I don't want to leave Chicago. I don't want to leave you. We're going to do everything we can to make sure you stay where you're happy and safe. Promise? I couldn't promise. I didn't know what the judge would decide, but I held my grandson and said, I promise I will fight for you with everything I have. He fell asleep in my arms. I stayed awake until dawn. The morning of the trial, I woke at 5:30, even though we didn't need to be at the courthouse until 8:45. I showered, dried my hair, put on the navy suit Daniel had given me, the one I'd worn to his funeral. In the bathroom mirror, I looked old, 65 years showing in every line around my eyes, every gray hair I'd stopped bothering to dye 6 months ago. Victoria would show up looking 32 and polished and like the perfect young mother, but I had something she didn't. I had the truth. I made breakfast for Owen, pancakes, Daniel's recipe with chocolate chips. Owen ate in silence, sensing the weight of the day. Do I have to go to court? He asked. Not today. Ms. Anderson from Social Services will stay with you at her office. You'll do some activities, maybe draw some pictures. Will they ask me who I want to live with? Not today. Today is just about paperwork and grown-up talking. He nodded, pushing pancakes around his plate. Grandma, whatever happens, I love you. My eyes burned. I love you too, sweetheart. More than you'll ever know. At 8:15, I drove to the courthouse on Daly Plaza. Robert was waiting at the security checkpoint, briefcase in hand. Ready? He asked. No, but let's do this anyway. We rode the elevator to the 14th floor in silence. As the doors opened, I saw Victoria at the end of the hall with Gerald Blackwood. She wore a black suit that probably cost $5,000, her hair in a severe bun that made her look professional and grief-stricken. Behind her, Graham Lancaster leaned against the wall, scrolling through his phone. Confident, comfortable. A man who'd never faced consequences. Our eyes met across the hallway. Victoria's cold and calculating. Mine, I hoped, steady and certain. She looked away first. Robert touched my elbow. Before we go in, I need to show you something Daniel left. He handed me a yellow envelope, sealed, my name written in Daniel's handwriting across the front. He gave this to me 3 days before he died. Said to give it to you right before trial. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a single piece of paper. Mom, if you're reading this, you're about to walk into that courtroom. You're probably scared. Probably doubting yourself. Probably wondering if you're doing the right thing. You are. Victoria will look younger, more sympathetic, more like the real parent. Blackwood will make you look old, bitter, vindictive. The judge might even seem skeptical. Don't waver. Everything I've given you, the house, the money, the evidence, it's all to protect Owen. Not from Victoria being a bad person, though she is, but from Victoria being exactly who she is, someone who puts herself first. Always. Owen needs someone who puts him first. That's you, Mom. It's always been you. Walk in there with your head up. Tell the truth. Trust Robert. And know that I'm with you, every step. I love you. Thank you for being the mother who taught me to see clearly, even when the truth hurt. Daniel, I folded the letter carefully and put it in my purse, next to the vial of his ashes. Okay, I said to Robert. I'm ready. The courtroom doors opened. Judge Patricia Sullivan looked up from her bench as we entered. It was time to fight for my grandson, and I would not lose. The courtroom was smaller than I'd expected. Not the grand theatrical space you see on television, but a practical room with fluorescent lights, worn wooden benches, and the faint smell of old law books and air conditioning that worked too hard. Judge Patricia Sullivan sat behind her bench, silver reading glasses perched on her nose, reviewing documents with the methodical attention of someone who'd spent 3 decades separating truth from performance. Mr. Blackwood, you may present your opening statement, she said without looking up. Gerald Blackwood stood, buttoning his suit jacket in one smooth motion. He was exactly what you'd expect from a lawyer who charged $800 an hour, silver hair perfectly cut, expensive suit that fit like a second skin, voice modulated to project both authority and compassion. Your Honor, this case is fundamentally about a grieving mother who cannot accept that her son made his own choices about his life and his estate. He paced slowly, hands clasped behind his back. Margaret Thornton is 65 years old, recently widowed, and has now lost her only child. That kind of grief can distort perception, can create narratives that feel true even when they contradict reality. I sat perfectly still, hands folded on the table, and watched him build his case against my sanity. Mrs. Thornton taught psychology 30 years ago, and I emphasize 30 years ago because the field has evolved considerably since then. Her understanding of family dynamics, of healthy attachment, of modern parenting is frankly outdated. Robert started to object, but Judge Sullivan held up one hand. I'll allow it. Continue, Mr. Blackwood. The original will, dated 2018, left everything to Victoria Thornton. That was Daniel's choice when he was healthy, happy, and thinking clearly. The alleged secret will from 3 months before his death? Blackwood shook his head sadly. Your Honor, we're expected to believe that a man who loved his wife suddenly, inexplicably decided to disinherit her and give everything to his mother? The timing alone raises questions about his mental state. He pulled up photographs on a screen. Victoria's modern, spotless house versus my lived-in home with its mismatched furniture and roses growing wild in the garden. This is Victoria Thornton's home, clean, organized, age-appropriate for a young child. And this is Margaret Thornton's home, cluttered, dated, frankly not suitable for an active 8-year-old boy. My jaw tightened. That cluttered house was where Owen had learned to garden, where Daniel had grown up, where 3 generations of love had soaked into the walls. Your Honor, Daniel Thornton made a choice. He chose to marry Victoria Sheffield. He chose to build a life with her. He chose to have a child with her. Mrs. Margaret Thornton never approved of that marriage. Objection, Robert said quietly. No evidence supporting that claim. Sustained. Stick to facts, Mr. Blackwood. Blackwood didn't miss a beat. The facts are these. Victoria Thornton is a 32-year-old mother who has provided for her son, grieved her husband, and attempted to move forward with her life. Margaret Thornton has manufactured a conspiracy theory involving affair allegations, financial impropriety, and even, most grotesquely, suggestions that Victoria somehow caused Daniel's death. He turned to face me directly. A woman who would make such accusations against her daughter-in-law, against the mother of her grandson, is not acting out of love. She's acting out of grief-fueled delusion, and we cannot allow that delusion to destroy a child's relationship with his mother. Thank you, Mr. Blackwood, Judge Sullivan said. Mr. Hayes? Robert stood, and his opening was simpler, quieter, more devastating. Your Honor, I was Daniel Thornton's best friend for 15 years. I was the best man at his wedding to Victoria. I'm Owen's godfather, and 3 months before Daniel died, he came to my office and said, Robert, I need to protect my son from his mother. The courtroom went silent. Everything Mr. Blackwood just told you is a story, a performance. What I'm going to show you is evidence. Text messages, financial records, medical reports, video testimony from Daniel himself, recorded 2 weeks before his death, explaining exactly why he changed his will and what he feared. Robert pulled out a folder. Daniel Thornton was not mentally unstable. He was a practicing attorney in good standing, handling complex cases, making sound legal judgments right up until the day he died. What he was, Your Honor, was afraid, and the evidence will show that his fears were completely justified. Judge Sullivan made a note. Let's hear your first witness, Mr. Blackwood. Blackwood called Dr. Amanda Foster first, a psychiatrist who'd apparently been treating Victoria for severe grief and anxiety. Dr. Foster was in her 40s, professional, with the careful neutrality of someone who testified in court regularly. Dr. Foster, can you describe Mrs. Victoria Thornton's mental state following her husband's death? Certainly. Victoria presented with acute grief disorder, complicated by the sudden nature of Daniel's death. She experienced insomnia, anxiety attacks, difficulty with daily functioning, classic trauma response. And has she been a responsible patient? Very much so. She attends all her sessions, follows treatment recommendations, and has shown remarkable resilience. What about her parenting during this time? Victoria has been conscientious about Owen's care. She enrolled him in therapy, consulted with me about how to support him through grief, Attended all the sessions I recommended. I wrote in my notebook, check therapy attendance records. Robert's cross-examination was surgical. Dr. Foster, how many therapy sessions has Owen actually attended? She hesitated. I'd need to check my records. Allow me to help. According to Owen's school counselor, he's missed 12 out of 15 scheduled sessions. Can you explain that discrepancy? Well, Victoria mentioned there were scheduling conflicts. Scheduling conflicts? Or was it Margaret Thornton who brought Owen to all the makeup sessions? Dr. Foster's professional composure cracked slightly. I believe Mrs. Thornton did facilitate some of the rescheduled appointments. Some? Or all of them? Robert didn't wait for an answer. Dr. Foster, you testified that Victoria attended all the sessions you recommended. How many sessions have you personally had with Victoria in the past 8 weeks? 4 sessions. 4. And how many times has she canceled or rescheduled? I'm not sure. According to your own appointment records, which we've subpoenaed, Victoria has canceled 7 sessions and rescheduled 3. Out of 14 scheduled appointments, she attended 4. Is that your definition of a very responsible patient? Grief affects people differently. Thank you, doctor. No further questions. Graham Lancaster was next. He took the stand with the easy confidence of someone who'd never been held accountable for anything. Expensive suit, perfect hair. Watch, that probably cost more than my car. Mr. Lancaster, how did you know the Thornton family? I've been friends with Daniel for about 4 years through real estate investments. We developed several properties together. I considered him not just a business partner, but a friend. The lie was so smooth, I almost believed it myself. And after Daniel's death, you assisted Victoria with financial matters? Yes. Daniel had handled all their investments, and Victoria was overwhelmed. I helped her understand what assets she had, what the properties were worth. Just basic estate management. Have you and Victoria Thornton begun a romantic relationship? Graham looked appropriately uncomfortable. We've grown close during this difficult time. We're both adults, both unattached. Our relationship developed naturally. When did this relationship begin? About 6 weeks after Daniel's death. We found comfort in each other's grief. I watched Robert make a note. 6 weeks. Remember that. Blackwood wrapped up quickly, painting Graham as a supportive family friend who'd stepped in to help a grieving widow. Then Robert stood for cross-examination. Mr. Lancaster, you testified that you've known the family for 4 years, correct? Yes. Then you attended Daniel and Victoria's 5th wedding anniversary party in 2021? Graham shifted slightly. I don't recall specifically. Strange, because according to the guest list from that party, which we have in evidence, you weren't invited. In fact, here's an email from Daniel to Victoria dated March 2021. Please don't invite Graham to the party. I don't trust him around you. Does that refresh your memory? Graham's face flushed. Daniel and I had some business disagreements. Business disagreements? Or did he suspect you were having an affair with his wife? Objection. Blackwood was on his feet. Speculation, Your Honor. I'll rephrase, Robert said calmly. Mr. Lancaster, have you ever stayed overnight at the Thornton residence on Ashland Avenue? I may have, for business discussions that ran late. 7 times in 8 weeks following Daniel's death. We have security camera footage from the neighborhood. Would you like to see it? Graham's lawyer face crumbled. I was helping Victoria, helping yourself to your business partner's widow. Robert pulled out a document. This is a hotel receipt from the Peninsula, Chicago, February 7th, 2023. 1 week before Daniel died. Room 1847 checked in under your name. Who was your guest, Mr. Lancaster? I don't remember. The hotel has security footage showing Victoria Thornton entering your room at 10:47 p.m. and leaving at 6:23 a.m. while her husband was alive, while she was telling him she wanted to work on the marriage. Were you helping her work on her marriage that night? I want to invoke my Fifth Amendment right. Answer the question, Mr. Lancaster, Judge Sullivan said sharply. This is a civil proceeding, not a criminal trial. Graham looked at his lawyer, then at Victoria. Yes, Victoria was with me that night. The courtroom erupted. Judge Sullivan's gavel cracked like thunder. Order! Mr. Lancaster, you're excused, and you're advised to retain criminal counsel. Perjury is a serious offense. After lunch recess, Robert called our witnesses. Dr. Sarah Mitchell took the stand. Owen's actual therapist, not Victoria's psychiatrist. She was younger than Dr. Foster. maybe 35, with the kind, tired eyes of someone who worked with traumatized children every day. Dr. Mitchell, how long have you been counseling Owen Thornton? 10 weeks, twice weekly sessions at Margaret Thornton's request and expense. What have you observed about Owen's emotional state? Owen is experiencing complicated grief, exacerbated by instability in his home environment. He's regressed in several behaviors. Bedwetting resumed after 3 years of being dry at night. Nightmares 4 to 5 times per week, anxiety symptoms including stomach aches before school. Did Owen discuss his home life with you? Yes. In our sessions, I use art therapy. When I asked Owen to draw his safe place, he drew his grandmother's house, every detail carefully rendered, including the roses in the garden. When I asked him to draw his home with his mother, he drew himself very small in one corner of the page, with 2 large figures taking up most of the space. Who were the 2 figures? He labeled them M and G. When I asked who they were, he said Mom and Uncle Graham. Robert showed the drawings to Judge Sullivan, who studied them silently. Did Owen express any feelings about Graham Lancaster? Yes. He told me, and I'm quoting from my notes, Uncle Graham says Dad was boring. Mom laughs when he says that, but I don't think it's funny. Dad wasn't boring. Dad was the best. My eyes burned, but I kept my expression neutral. How many of Owen's scheduled sessions has he attended? He's missed 71% due to his mother's cancellations or rescheduling conflicts. Margaret Thornton has brought him to 100% of makeup sessions. Blackwood's cross-examination was brief and ineffective. Doctor, Mitchell was too well documented, too professional, too clearly concerned about Owen's welfare to be shaken. Then Robert played the video. Your Honor, I'd like to introduce Exhibit 47, video testimony of Daniel Thornton, recorded February 1st, 2023, 13 days before his death. The lights dimmed. The screen lit up with my son's face. I gripped the edge of the table so hard my knuckles went white. Daniel looked directly into the camera, his voice steady and clear. My name is Daniel Henry Thornton. Today is February 1st, 2023. I'm making this statement of sound mind and body, though I fear I may not have much time left. Victoria went completely still beside her lawyer. 6 months ago, I discovered my wife Victoria has been having an affair with Graham Lancaster for over 2 years. I have evidence, texts, photos, hotel receipts, recordings. Robert Hayes has all of it. But that's not why I'm making this video. 3 months ago, I told Victoria I knew about the affair and wanted a divorce. She became strange, calm, too calm. She asked about my life insurance, our assets, whether I had any health issues. 2 months ago, I started experiencing symptoms, headaches, dizziness, blurred vision. My doctor found nothing wrong. The symptoms would disappear when I was away on business trips, then return when I came home. My hand went to my mouth. I don't want to believe what I'm thinking, but as a lawyer, I deal in evidence, not hope, and the evidence suggests I may be in danger. I've moved my assets to my mother's name, the house, cars, bank accounts. Owen's college fund is in a trust she manages. If Victoria loves Owen, she'll respect this. If she doesn't, well, that tells you everything. Daniel's voice grew softer, more emotional. Mom, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. I should have seen this earlier. I should have protected Owen better, but I know you will. Owen, if you ever see this, Grandma Maggie loves you more than anything. Dad loves you. We both just want you safe and happy. Victoria, if you're fighting this will, it means you care more about money than our son. Prove me wrong. The video ended. The courtroom was absolutely silent. Victoria's face had gone from pale to gray. Her hands trembled on the table. Blackwood leaned over to whisper urgently to her, but she didn't seem to hear him. Judge Sullivan removed her glasses, cleaned them slowly, put them back on. Mr. Hayes, do you have additional evidence supporting Mr. Thornton's concerns? Yes, Your Honor. The text messages he referenced, the private investigator's report, and one final piece of evidence that Mrs. Thornton doesn't know we have. Robert called me to the stand. I walked slowly, steadily, and placed my hand on the Bible. I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Robert's questions were gentle, taking me through my relationship with Daniel, my observations of Victoria's parenting, my documentation of Owen's care. Then Blackwood stood for cross-examination, and the gentleness ended. Mrs. Thornton, You never approved of your son's marriage to Victoria, did you? That's not true. I gave the toast at their wedding. But you never thought she was good enough for him. I thought she was young. I thought they were rushing. But I supported Daniel's choice. Did you? Or did you spend 10 years trying to undermine their marriage? Objection, Robert said. No foundation for that claim. Sustained. Blackwood changed tactics. Mrs. Thornton, you're 65 years old. Are you really prepared to raise an 8-year-old child? I raised my son. I can raise my grandson. You raised your son 30 years ago. Parenting has changed. Can you help with Common Core math homework? Do you know how to set parental controls on an iPad? Can you physically keep up with an active 8-year-old? I can give him what he needs most: stability, love, and someone who puts him first. Or are you just trying to replace your dead son with his child? The cruelty of it took my breath away, but I'd been preparing for this. Mr. Blackwood, I taught psychology for 30 years. I understand projection and displacement and all the other defense mechanisms you're trying to suggest. This isn't about replacing Daniel. This is about protecting Owen from a mother who sees him as an inconvenience. That's a serious accusation, backed by serious evidence. What evidence? Some text messages? A journal of your own observations? Videos you recorded without Victoria's knowledge? And one more thing, I said quietly. Something that happened the night Daniel died. Blackwood froze. Your Honor, this is outside the scope. I'll allow it, Judge Sullivan said. Continue, Mrs. Thornton. I pulled out my phone, hands shaking only slightly. The hospital called me at 2:17 a.m. on February 14th to tell me Daniel had been admitted with a brain aneurysm. I called Victoria immediately. 7 times during my 40-mile drive to the hospital. She never answered. She was asleep, taking sleeping medication. At 3:47 a.m., while I was sitting with my son's body, my phone buzzed with a text message. It was meant for Graham Lancaster, but Victoria accidentally sent it to our family group chat instead. I read from my screenshot. It's done. He's gone. Cremation tomorrow before anyone asks questions. Meet me at home in 20. The courtroom exploded. Victoria stood up, knocking her chair backward. That's a lie. I never sent that. She faked it. Mrs. Thornton, sit down. Judge Sullivan's gavel cracked. Your Honor, Robert said, pulling out documents. We have the phone records from AT&T confirming that message was sent from Victoria Thornton's number at 3:47 a.m. on February 14th, 2023. We also have Graham Lancaster's phone records showing he received it. Blackwood was frantically whispering to Victoria, trying to get her to sit, to be quiet, but she was beyond controlling. He was going to divorce me, leave me with nothing after I wasted 10 years. Graham and I deserve to be happy. Daniel was boring, obsessed with his work, and his mother never paid attention to me. Stop talking! Blackwood grabbed her arm, but Victoria kept going, years of resentment pouring out. We were going to start over in Arizona with Owen's trust fund money, build something beautiful, and this bitter old woman is trying to ruin everything because she can't accept that Daniel chose me. Judge Sullivan's gavel came down like thunder. Mrs. Thornton, you are testifying against yourself. Sit down immediately or I will hold you in contempt. Victoria finally stopped, breathing hard, mascara running. She collapsed into her chair. The courtroom was silent except for her ragged breathing. I stepped down from the witness stand. As I walked past Victoria, I stopped, looked at her directly. He loved you anyway, I said quietly. Even knowing what you were. That's who Daniel was, and that's who I'll make sure Owen remembers. I returned to my seat. Robert touched my shoulder briefly. It was over. Judge Sullivan called a 30-minute recess. When she returned, her expression was carved from stone. I've been on the bench for 23 years. I've presided over hundreds of estate cases, custody battles, family disputes. This case, she paused. This case has shaken even my faith in human decency. She looked directly at Victoria. Mrs. Thornton, your testimony today, both your attorney's questions and your own outburst, has revealed character deficiencies that gravely concern this court. While I cannot make a determination about your involvement in your husband's death without a criminal investigation, I can and will protect the minor child at the center of this case. She read from her decision. The will dated November 3, 2022, executed by Daniel Thornton in sound mind and properly witnessed, is hereby upheld. All assets designated to Margaret Thornton are awarded to her. Victoria slumped forward, head in her hands. Regarding custody of Owen Thornton, age 8, based on the testimony of mental health professionals, educators, documented patterns of neglect, and the child's demonstrated preference for stability, I am awarding primary custody to Margaret Thornton for a period of 6 months, with possibility of extension. Victoria Thornton shall have supervised visitation rights every Saturday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., supervised by a court-appointed guardian. She may not remove Owen from Cook County without court approval. Furthermore, I am ordering that copies of all evidence presented in this case, including the text message sent at 3:47 a.m. and the recordings referenced in testimony, be forwarded to the Cook County State's Attorney for possible investigation. The gavel fell. This court is adjourned. 3 years later, Owen and I stood in front of Daniel's grave on a bright Saturday morning in May. He was 11 now, taller, steadier, starting to look like his father around the eyes. He placed roses on the headstone, the ones we'd grown together in the garden. "Dad, I made honor roll again. Straight A's. Grandma says you'd be proud." I touched his shoulder gently. Mom moved to California with Graham. She got remarried. Sent me a wedding invitation, but... He trailed off. "I didn't want to go. Is that bad?" "It's honest," I said. "Your father valued honesty above everything." Victoria's supervised visitation had lasted exactly 3 months. The first month, she came to 6 out of 8 sessions. The second month, 3. The third month, 1. After that, nothing. Just a text message. "Graham and I are moving to Santa Fe. New beginning. Tell Owen I love him." I'd shown Owen the text. He'd cried for an hour, then said, "At least I still have you, Grandma." The criminal investigation into Daniel's death had gone nowhere. No physical evidence, no autopsy, no toxicology. The state's attorney called it suspicious but unprovable. Victoria and Graham had left Illinois before any charges could be filed, but I had Owen, and that was all Daniel had wanted. "Grandma?" Owen looked up at me. "When you're really, really old, like 90 or something, who's going to take care of me?" I smiled. "I plan to stick around for a long time, troublemaker. But when I'm gone, you'll have all the people your dad and I brought into your life. Robert, Dr. Mitchell, your teachers, your friends. You'll never be alone." "And the house?" "The house is yours. It always has been. Your father made sure of that." We stood there in comfortable silence, 3 generations connected by love and loss and the promise that family means protecting each other, even from beyond the grave. As we walked back to the car, Owen slipped his hand into mine. "Grandma, can we stop for ice cream?" "Your dad always said ice cream solves everything." "That's because Dad was smart." My eyes filled with tears. "Yes, sweetheart, he really was." They said I was just a grieving mother who couldn't let go. They said I was too old to raise a child. They said the will was a mistake, that I was confused, bitter, delusional. The judge disagreed. My son disagreed. And in the end, that's all that mattered. Because some things are worth fighting for, even when the cost is everything. Even when the enemy is family. Even when you're 65 years old and everyone tells you to just let it go. I didn't let it go. I let it fight. And I won the only victory that ever mattered. I saved my grandson from a woman who cared more about money than his father's memory. Daniel, if you're watching, I kept my promise. Owen is safe. He's loved. He's home. Margaret Thornton continued to raise Owen until he graduated high school with honors. He is currently attending Harvard Law School, his father's alma mater, specializing in family law to help children in situations like his own. Victoria and Graham's marriage ended in divorce after 18 months. She has had no contact with Owen in 8 years. Judge Patricia Sullivan commended Margaret's case as an example of what it means to put children first, regardless of personal cost. The house at 1742 Ashland Avenue remains in the family. Owen plans to raise his own children there someday, in the same rooms where his father and grandmother taught him that love means protection, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard.